In this case, 3 trade unions had voted to amalgamate. For the amalgamation to proceed, the Fair Work Commission had to establish an amalgamation date. The legislation said the Commission could not establish an amalgamation date unless there were no proceedings other than civil proceedings outstanding against either of the amalgamating entities. So it's awkwardly worded, but this seems to be saying that the unions could not amalgamate if one of them was facing criminal proceedings. The CFMEU was facing proceedings under the Fair Work Act, which could result in a civil penalty against the union. Civil penalties are an odd creature because they result in fines and similar punishments, but they are not criminal and therefore do not need to be proved beyond reasonable doubt. Basically, civil penalties are a dodgy way for governments to impose criminal penalties without needing to meet the criminal standard of proof. The question before the court was whether a proceeding under the Fair Work Act was a proceeding other than a civil proceeding. It clearly wasn't a criminal proceeding. However, when we talk about civil proceedings, we're normally talking about 2 people or corporations involved in a dispute where one seeks damages or a similar remedy. Things like contract and tort cases. And this clearly wasn't a case like that. In order to determine whether the amalgamation date had been validly set, the court needed to undertake statutory interpretation of the amalgamation provision. Their Honours said the task of statutory construction can be assisted by a wide range of more specific principles of statutory construction, many of which have been developed by the courts, while others are now expressed in legislation. Some caution is required in selecting and applying the non-statutory or common law principles. They are not inflexible rules, and their application in particular circumstances can be nuanced. Moreover, there can be tension between some of the principles. They are not masters, but should be viewed as servants and tools of analysis in the task of statutory construction. In the end, the court found that a proceeding for a civil penalty was a civil proceeding, and so the amalgamation date had properly been set. However, from this case, what we mostly learn is that principles of statutory interpretation, such as the maxims of statutory interpretation, are useful tools for statutory construction, but they must not be treated as inflexible rules.